Hi, welcome to SBR Sports Picks. I'm Peter Loshak. Today is Monday, August 21st. Of course, every Monday I do a preview of the upcoming series in MLB, usually with Drew Martin, but Drew Martin is out right now. He has still been traveling, so I'm just going to do this solo. I'm going to hit you with some of my thoughts right now from the upcoming series. Of course, last week was a pretty good week. 4 days. I did 4 shows last week. Every day was a profitable day. So overall, I feel like I'm seeing some things pretty clearly. Some things pretty clearly in MLB. Some things a little bit less clearly. But this upcoming week, we do have some interesting series. The first one that caught my eye, that's very interesting, is Washington at Houston. Now, you might not be aware of this, but actually in August, the most unprofitable team in baseball, in all of baseball, number 30 ranked in terms of ROI, is Houston. Houston Astros, unbelievable how far they've fallen in terms of being overvalued. The most unprofitable team in baseball was August. The most profitable team to have bet against in all of MLB was Houston. And as we know, all season long, all of their profitability has come on the road, and at home, they've been notably unprofitable. Right now, they're minus 6%. Negative 6% overall ROI at home on the year, and Washington has been great on the road, plus 16% ROI on the road. So it's definitely an interesting series. You might think that once again Houston will be overvalued, and that's though, of course, losing Bryce Harper is a big loss, and they have been really struggling offensively in the very recent couple of weeks. So I'm not sure that I will want Washington here. I have to assume that Houston will be a little bit overvalued. But it's going to be an interesting series. If there's one game that I'm thinking maybe might be best to take a shot with Washington, might be on Wednesday, Edwin Jackson against Fiers. And Jackson has been kind of a revelation, pitching great since he joined the rotation with Washington. Gotten a little bit lucky, pitched a little bit over his head, so some regression I think we should expect from Jackson, but still, I think we can expect him to be relatively decent going forward. And Fiers has definitely been slumping, giving up home runs, and so that might be the best spot to take Washington on Wednesday. We'll see what the line is when that line comes out. And of course, based on my numbers, Houston still has a major lineup edge over Washington over the last 30 games or so. But Washington, of course, their bullpen has gone from a liability to a strength. Their bullpen numbers, of course, have been excellent recently, and that's because they added a bunch of big arms. So Wednesday might be the best spot to try to find some value with Washington. Thursday, Dallas Keuchel's supposed to be starting for Houston, and he's looking very good in his return, so I'm not sure I'd want to bet against him. And then on Tuesday, we have Rourke against Morton, and Rourke has been very, very questionable, not getting strikeouts, giving up home runs. So I'm not sure I'd want Washington on either of those days. Then another series that's very interesting is Minnesota against the White Sox, and of course the White Sox have been kind of an auto fade team for a while now since they got rid of a bunch of their better players. And Minnesota all season long has been great on the road, the number 1 team in baseball in terms of ROI on the road, plus 27% overall ROI on the road since day one of the MLB regular season. And that is very, very impressive. And just looking over their pitching numbers and hitting numbers from the past 30 days, Minnesota has a huge lineup edge over the White Sox, and a big bullpen edge as well. The White Sox have had a consistently terrible bullpen for a while now, arguably the worst in baseball. And the Minnesota's actually had a top 5 bullpen over the last 30 days. So the Twins have a pretty big lineup edge here and a huge bullpen edge here. And so Minnesota, I do think Minnesota's been overachieving a bit still. So I think the best way to take Minnesota in this series might be on the second half. So I'll definitely be looking to bet on them on second halves. But they do have a big starting pitching edge, I think, on Thursday. Barrios against Holland. Barrios has been up and down. His last start was excellent, though. Not exactly sure what to expect from him here. But Holland for the White Sox is just looking awful. Only one pitcher comes to mind right now who's looking more awful than Holland, and we'll get to him later on in this video. But Holland is looking terrible, just seriously terrible. So he's a guy who I think is an auto fade right now. Probably going to be on the Minnesota first 5 innings team total on that one on Thursday, unless they pull him. He's been so bad they might just pull him last second. But if it is Barrios against Holland, we'll see how big of a favorite Minnesota winds up being there, but Minnesota might be a good bet there. And then tomorrow's game, Tuesday, it might be the best spot to try to take a shot with Minnesota on the second half. It's going to be Gibson, I think, against Lucas Giolito. And so he might come up, give you 6 strong innings, and then the bullpens take over where Minnesota should have an edge. So again, the White Sox have a terrible bullpen. Looking to fade them on second halves in general, and Tuesday might be the best spot to fade Minnesota. And again, Minnesota to fade the White Sox. Again, Minnesota has a top 5 bullpen over the past month or so. Then on Wednesday, Santana against Shields. That's a tricky one. Might again be a good spot to take Minnesota depending on the line. Santana's starts have been pretty mediocre. He does tend to do very, very well against the White Sox, and Shields has been a little bit better. Shields actually in his past bunch of starts hasn't been that much worse than Santana. So that one might be a bit of a wash, might be a good spot to take Minnesota on the money line depending on the line, and also another good spot to take a shot with Minnesota on the second half again, just to fade the White Sox terrible bullpen. Then another series that I had circled but we might not have any value with is San Diego at St. Louis. And San Diego has definitely been slumping badly recently. They've been bad in August, single-digit negative ROI in August. St. Louis has been a single-digit positive return team in August, and the Cards have a huge lineup edge over the last 30 games. San Diego's lineup has really been slumping out recently. San Diego's been a bad team on the road, but the market does appear to be pricing it in. Tomorrow's game, is Clayton Richard against Lance Lynn. And Lynn has been outpitching his peripherals, but still not, a terribly great starting pitcher. I think he's going to be decent. Might get hit a bit, but St. Louis is in the minus 190s that I'm seeing on the opening line there. So there might not be that much value. It might be one of these series where St. Louis is a minus 200 favorite in each game. They win 2 out of 3, and the lines wind up being dead on. We'll see what the line is on Thursday. The starting pitching matchup is supposed to be Perdomo against Martinez. Perdomo has definitely been slumping, and he figures to be vulnerable here as well. Martinez should give up a few, but he looks like, a half step or maybe a full step better than Perdomo. But again, would be based on what the line is for the Tuesday game, we might see, something in the, low minus 200s when that line opens. And I'm not sure if there's going to be any value there. Maybe just take a shot with the St. Louis team total over on Thursday. We'll see what those lines are. But in general, looking to fade looking to fade San Diego. Their lineup has been really slumping out recently, and definitely was hoping to get better lines with St. Louis. All right, so that's it for the series that have caught my eye. As far as starting pitching matchups of note on Tuesday, I mentioned Holland as a guy who's just looking like an auto fade who doesn't belong on a starting rotation in the majors. Maybe even worse is Tyson Ross, who is supposed to start tomorrow for Texas, and he just looked really, really bad. He's had like 2 starts in a row where he's had 2 strikeouts and like 6 walks, something just horrifically bad. And it looks like he's having some major problems that aren't likely to get fixed. And then on the other side, Ricky Nolasco up and down, as always, might get hit, might be okay. If he's okay, then the Angels should win this one, 8-1 or something like that. If he gets hit, the Angels might still have an edge, and they're not that big of a favorite. I saw an opening line in the minus 120s, which is a little bit surprising to me. So, yeah, I'm expecting Tyson Ross to struggle again tomorrow. No reason to expect not. I'll look into it a little bit more deeply to see if there's any reason to expect Ross not to be absolutely horrible tomorrow, as horrible as he's been in his recent starts, but I think that he will be. Then there's also the rematch of John Lackey against Homer Bailey. I had the overs in that game, anyone who remembers that. But they actually both pitched kind of decently in that game where I was all over the overs. Lackey actually wasn't that bad. It was the bullpen that gave up a bunch of runs, and Bailey gave up a ton of runs, had 5 walks, but did strike out 10 guys. So not exactly sure we're going to see another offensive explosion here. The total opened at 10, which is kind of high. So I'm still feeling my way out. Cincinnati did open as a big underdog, though, and I'm thinking that they might have some value at in the plus 140s. I actually took a small shot with that on the opening line. And then also tomorrow, another matchup that caught my eye is Colorado at KC, Gray against Duffy. I think I'm going to be on the under on that one. I hit it when it opened at 9, and Gray should be good here. Duffy's been giving up some runs recently, but still getting strikeouts, so I think he'll have a decent start. Colorado, of course, takes a major hit when they go on the road, especially into parks that can be pitcher friendly, which KC usually is. So I'm going to be on the under 9. We'll see what it is tomorrow morning when I do the morning show. If it's still 9, I'll definitely give that one as a pick. If it's 8.5, maybe not. We'll see. But I definitely bet that one on the opening line, under 9 in Colorado and KC. And then On Wednesday, a couple of starting pitching matchups that have caught my eye. Miami and Philadelphia. Miami has definitely obviously been very productive offensively recently, and Eflin is the guy who's scheduled to start for Philly. He's a youngster who has been getting hit pretty hard recently when he was in full health, but he left his last start with some quote-unquote shoulder discomfort. Reports are that he's going to be okay. But, you know, even if he is okay, I'd still be looking to fade him, and he might have some health issues to go with that. So I'm definitely going to be looking for Eflin to get hit on Wednesday, whether that means taking Miami team total overs or betting on Miami, because I'm not exactly sure, because Nicolino is definitely questionable himself. But I'm definitely looking for Eflin to get hit. And then in the Boston-Cleveland game on Wednesday, it's Pomerantz against Kluber, both of them coming off of health issues. Kluber had an ankle issue, and Pomerantz left his last start with back spasms. I'm guessing Kluber's going to be fine. He had an ankle, issue that I'm willing to believe the reports that he's 100% for this one. Back spasms can be a little bit of a different case, so I'm thinking that Kluber probably going to be a better bet to be healthy than Pomerantz, and maybe Cleveland will be a good bet here, unless of course they're a massive favorite, which is always a possibility with Kluber starting. And then on the Thursday games, three other games that have caught my eye in terms of starting pitching matchups that are noteworthy. The Dodgers-Pittsburgh game, Ryu against Cool. Ryu's been decent, and Cool, his last start was good. He can be good, a little bit inconsistent, but Ryu looks solid to me, and I think that we might get, again, a favorite line for the Dodgers. It's not too crazy, especially since Cool's last start was good. If we see the Dodgers, minus 130, minus 140 or something like that, probably be looking to bet the Dodgers at that line. Then there's Jay Happ against Cobb, Toronto and Tampa Bay. And Happ has been pitching quite well recently. His last start, he gave up a bunch of runs, but overall, he's pretty solid. And Cobb's coming back. His issue was turf toe, and that's one of those uncertain, unclear injuries. Reports are that he's going to be fine, and if he was actually supposed to be pitching through that injury, decided not to. If Cobb is fine here, then probably he'll have an excellent start, because as we know, Cobb was doing very well for an extended period of time this year. And if that's the case, then I would be leaning to the under. If we think Cobb's not going to be that good, then maybe we'll take a shot with Toronto. But I think Cobb will be okay, and I'll probably be leaning to the under on that one. We'll see what the line is when it comes out. And then an interesting matchup in the Thursday game, Boston-Cleveland. Chris Sale against Trevor Bauer. Now, Sale is excellent, obviously, but Bauer has been in a really nice groove recently. He's got a knuckle curve that he's been doing well with, and I think Bauer is a guy who is, at least for the short-term, near future, reliable, someone we can rely on to give a good start. So we'll see what the line is for that one. Probably Boston's going to be a modest favorite. I don't think they're going to be a massive favorite. So, if Cleveland is anything higher than plus 140, I think they'll probably be a decent bet. And I think we might also look for an under in that one, because, again, Sale is excellent, but usually gives up a couple. Bauer's in a nice groove, should have a good start. So I'm thinking that on that game, depending on what the lines are, I'm be looking for an under, and maybe for Cleveland to have some betting value. We'll see what those lines are when they come out on Thursday. That'll be an interesting opening line. We'll see what it is. And those are my thoughts for the upcoming MLB series, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Of course, I'll be back tomorrow morning, 10:30 Eastern time on Tuesday, where I will break down the entire Tuesday card and give my official picks. I got 5 picks going tonight for the Monday card, and then on Thursday I'll be back to take a look at the upcoming MLB series and pitching assignments for the weekend, for the upcoming weekend. That'll be on Thursday. Thanks for tuning in.